Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. So as you can tell by the title, this is going to be my birth/delivery vlog, but I will not be filming the birth. This is just going to be clips and maybe some clips of me at home. I honestly have no idea what footage I'm going to capture when I'm filming this or anything. So I'm going to tell you a little bit of what's already happened. So today is currently, I think it's the 7th of July. I could be wrong, but I think it's 7th of July. And yesterday I went to the hospital for a 39-week scan, and they gave me a sweep, which was to try and start off my labour to see if anything did happen. And they booked me an induction for today at 2 hours and a half away, and then I'll be going to the hospital to have my little girl. I have no idea how long this process is going to take. With my first, it took quite a while. I went in on the Friday and I didn't have him until the Tuesday, but I was 1 to 2 centimetres dilated yesterday, so I could have dilated a little bit more due to how much walking I did yesterday and the fact that I was literally nearly non-stop yesterday. So I've got no idea what to expect or anything like that, but I will take you guys along with me and you can see the process and things like that. Obviously, I will have my birthing partner there for some parts of my birth. Again, we don't know what's going to happen. He could be there constantly. He might be there just for a few hours. I honestly right now could not tell you off the top of my head because I don't know. I don't know how far dilated I am. I don't know what the process is going to be when I get there. I think they're probably just going to assess me and then see what the next step is from there. So in terms of how I'm feeling, I'm definitely not feeling too great, and that I don't mean like I feel sick or nervous or anything like that. I just don't feel very happy, and I think it's alright to say that. And as you can probably tell by my face, I have been crying, and this isn't really something I'd probably put on social media, but I think it's important to show that it's actually not all just rainbows and sunshine when you go and have a baby. It's a really nerve-wracking time, especially with my first experience. It was I'd say it was quite traumatic, especially after I gave birth, and obviously I'm due to give birth in the middle of a worldwide pandemic, so that for me is a lot more nerve-wracking than my first. So it's really scary, and there's a lot of things that I have no idea what to expect, but we're just going to go there and see what happens. So yeah, I'm not feeling the happiest. This is meant to be the happiest day of your life, or the process is meant to be like the happiest time of your life, but if I'm completely honest, I don't feel that way right now. That could change. I could get to the hospital and feel a lot more comfortable, but right now I'm just not feeling the happiest at all. I don't know if it's hormones, I don't know if it's just the fact that it's hitting me that I'm going to be bringing home another baby, and for the past 2 years I can do it. I know there's going to be days where I'm going to find it really hard and I'm not going to be able to cope very well, but then there's going to be other days where I'm going to absolutely smash it and it's going to be great, and I'm going to probably feel like I want 10 more children, but that is not going to happen. But yeah, I think I'm going to end this clip here because I'm kind of all over the place. I'm going to show you my bags before I go and everything that is ready to go. I've got my bag, then I've got the baby bag, and then I've got just like a handbag that's got my dressing gown in, some nappies for the baby, and a hairbrush and my snacks, because you can't go to the hospital without snacks, guys. You need to make sure you have snacks when you go to the hospital. Baby's bag and my bag. This is baby Aubrey, born at 4:25 AM this morning, and she weighs 6 lbs 9 ounces. So please excuse the state of the background. Aubrey is now 4 days old. I don't know what I filmed, what I haven't filmed. It's been quite a while. I don't know if I ever told you her name, which I'm guessing I probably did, but I'm not 100% sure. Ignore my hair, just ignore how I look, the background, everything. I want to get this video done and start vlogging and show you what it's actually like to be a mum of 2. So I thought I'd add on to the end of this video my delivery story. and I'm just going to be quick. I'm not going to do a 30-minute video of me speaking about delivering the baby, but I'm just going to be quick and tell you what happened, my experience, and how I'm feeling now. So, in terms of delivery, I was induced. I did mention that, I do remember. And I was induced because Aubrey's growth throughout my pregnancy was very up and down. And they wanted to make sure that me and the baby were safe. So they decided to induce me. The day that I went to hospital was 39 weeks because I had a scan, a growth scan. And when I went, they gave me a sweep. The sweep got me to 2 to 3 centimetres, because when I went in for the induction the next day at 2, they said I was 2 to 3 centimetres dilated and they could break my waters, which was a huge relief because when I was induced with Cole, I had to have a pessary, and I had to have 2 pessaries actually with Cole, and this one I didn't have to have any pessary. My waters were broke. So I think I got my waters broke at about maybe 5:30. Do you love her? She's not very happy, look. What? She's not very happy. I think I got my waters broke about maybe 5:30, 6 o'clock. I know it was definitely around that time, but I don't know an exact time. So I was already having tightenings after my sweep. After I had my sweep, I didn't actually mention that I actually had a sweep when I was induced. So when they was checking my cervix, they did give me a sweep, and I was 2 to 3 centimetres like I said. So they gave me a little bit of a sweep then just to see if that would start anything off, and instantly I started having tightenings in my back. They weren't really painful, but they were very uncomfortable because they were always there and they weren't going. And when I was being monitored, it was actually on the monitor as well that I was having tightenings and things like that. I'm really sorry about Cole walking up and down, but this was the only chance that I had to film this, and honestly guys, I this clip for days now and I've just not got round to it, so I thought the best time would be now. So I was still having tightenings after having my waters broke. They were getting stronger, but it got to midnight and I was having contractions, but they weren't regular, and they wanted them to regulate because I'd had my cervix checked quite a few times, and they didn't want to keep checking my cervix because of infection and things like that. So I had a doctor come in to me about 12 o'clock that night and say to me that they wanted to have me on the hormone drip because they wanted to regulate my contractions, and for the health and safety of the baby and myself, that it would be better if I was on the hormone drip. But it was completely up to me, and if I decided not to have the hormone drip, I could have risked an infection for me or my baby, and if we was to get an infection, it wouldn't be me that would get it that bad, it would be Aubrey that got it a lot worse. So I can't tell you exactly how it was worded or anything like that because I can't really remember exactly, but I wasn't very impressed with how they worded it to me and how they made me feel about going on the hormone drip, because I told the midwives that it wasn't really something I wanted to do, because I know that when you go on the hormone drip, your contractions are a lot more painful, and bear in mind I only had gas and air, so I didn't plan on having an epidural just because of my first experience. Obviously it worked well for me, I didn't feel absolutely anything, but I have a little boy and I didn't want to be stuck in a hospital with coronavirus patients during a pandemic, so I didn't really want to go for the epidural, but it was an option if I was to be on the hormone drip. So I ended up going on the hormone drip, and that was put in at about 12 o'clock that night, and then at 4:25 she was born. The contractions just before having her, the hours leading up to me giving birth to her, was absolutely unbelievable, and Even my partner was asking the midwives, look, is there not anything you can do to help her or something? He could see I was in pain. I had never experienced pain like that in my life. It was so intense. It got to a point where the contractions, I think, were literally 30 seconds apart, and it felt like I was not getting any break in between them at all. So that was really, really hard, and honestly guys, it was really, really painful. I know everybody kind of has their own experiences, and some say it's the most painful experience of your life. Some people say it's not that bad. For me personally, it was really, really bad, honestly. It was so painful, and I only had gas and air. I didn't know that they were turning the hormone drip up, because throughout my contractions I was kind of a little bit out of it because I was just that exhausted and I hadn't slept, because I've been up since 5:30 the morning before. So I was up over 24 hours, and still to this day I'm not catched up on any sleep. I have just been going to bed when the kids do, but we'll get into that a little bit later on. Yeah, I only had gas and air. I kept pressing the button and I kept saying to them, look, I cannot cope with this pain is unbearable. Is there not anything you can give me to help me? And everything that I asked for, they gave me a reason not to have it. So for example, pethidine, they said if I had that it would make me sleepy and I'd need help delivering my baby. And then the epidural, they didn't even question that. They kind of ignored me saying that. And then when I asked again, it was time to push. My baby's heartbeat was dipping, and they had to get another doctor in just before I gave birth and say that the baby's heartbeat was dipping. It wasn't dangerously dipping, but it was dipping to the point where it needed to be done. So at this point the contractions were so bad, and they needed to check my cervix to see how far dilated I was. So I was in that much pain, I ended up actually kicking the midwife out of me when she was checking my cervix, because I was in that much pain. Obviously it wasn't intentional or anything like that, but I was just in so much pain I ended up kicking her. So I'm guessing they wasn't very impressed with me for that one, but I'm sure they've had so much more worse than what I did. But yeah, I ended up kicking the midwife because I was in that much pain, and then obviously they needed to check my cervix again. And I was 7 to 8 centimetres dilated, which was a good thing. And I, not long after that, started pushing. The pushing part isn't bad in my opinion. I didn't think pushing was painful at all. I only found that the contractions... Someone's got a little bit of wind. I only found that the contractions were really painful. I didn't find that the pushing or anything like that was painful, and when it came to actually delivering my baby throughout the contractions, I was pushing. So yes, it was painful, but I don't think it was as painful as me doing nothing. Do you know what I mean? So throughout obviously my whole labour, when I was having contractions, I was literally just having to deal with the contractions. But when I was delivering the baby and I was having contractions, it was a little bit better, because obviously I was doing something. I was like, there was something that I was doing to help those contractions, and honestly it was such a massive relief to have her placed on my chest, because the experience was just that painful and so tiring. I'm so glad that it was over when it was. I ended up having a 2nd degree tear, so that's about it. So I did need stitches, but apart from that it was fine. I don't feel like I was very supported though by the midwives at the hospital, and didn't feel very supported by them at all. I feel like when I was asking for help it wasn't given to me, and I kind of felt like I was more pushed to the side, and that they wanted to get rid of me, because obviously if I had the epidural I potentially wouldn't have been able to feel my legs or something, so they'd have to keep me in longer. Whereas because I did it all naturally with Aubrey, that meant that I could go home that day, and I was home. Well, I got picked up at 12, so I was home for 1 o'clock that day after giving birth at 4:30 in the morning. So it was very tiring, very exhausting, but we did it. There is times where I definitely thought, how am I doing this? So yeah, it was very painful. The contractions were literally unbearable. Like I said, we got through it and we did it. At about 7:30 that day in the morning, about 3 hours after giving birth, I went for a shower, and that is so much more different to my first experience because I did not go for a shower for about 12 hours until I had my second. Didn't go for a shower for about 12 hours after I had Cole because I just couldn't feel my legs and I was just that unwell. This time the pain recovering hasn't been as bad. They gave me a very strong painkiller that I had not long after delivering my baby, so that really did help. Really did help, so that was handy. And obviously with your second you can get contractions.
No, wait.
Oh.
No.
I have felt a few contractions since being home, but not overly. I've been having a lot of ibuprofen because of the pain in terms of my stomach, because obviously there's so much pressure on your stomach, you know, you're contracting and then you're having to push and things like that. So not long after giving birth, it was quite painful in the sense of talking. Every time I spoke, I felt like my stomach was so tight and it was painful to talk. So that was a lovely experience for sure. I wouldn't say my recovery was as traumatic as my first, but we're on day 4 and I am still recovering, but I think I forget most of the time that, you know, I'm only 4 days postpartum and I do kind of need to give myself a little bit of a break because I keep thinking to myself, you know, I don't feel very well, this isn't right or this isn't right. But the truth is, I'm only 4 days postpartum. I'm not 2 months postpartum or anything like that. I'm only 4 days. So it's really strange for me to feel like this after being pregnant for so long. And obviously with my first, I didn't feel my labour at all. So this experience was completely different for me and completely new for me. Yeah, that's my labour and delivery story. I'm sorry it's really... You love her, don't you? I'm sorry it's all over the place and I've probably forgot some things on here that I want to tell you, but if I do forget I'll just tell you in my vlogs and things like that. But yeah, I feel like in terms of the care that I received, I'm definitely not impressed. And I did feel like they just wanted to get rid of me. They didn't really care how much pain I was in. I didn't feel supported at all during my induction / labour. The only person that supported me there was my partner. So if he wasn't there and I had to give birth by myself, it would have definitely been a very traumatic experience because I was not helped. Nobody helped me through my contractions. Just didn't feel very supported throughout the whole time I was in hospital or anything like that. To be honest, it was a very big relief to go home because I just didn't feel well supported or anything, which is really different to my first experience because I felt very supported and I felt like people wanted to help me. But this time round, I think people just wanted to get rid of me due to the pandemic. In terms of that, it definitely wasn't the nicest experience, but you know, I did it. Sorry. Cole's walking around now with my mum's slippers on and he thinks it's hilarious. So yeah, that is all. I hope you guys like baby Aubrey. I will show you her a little closer up in a second. But yeah, she's 4 days old. She does not sleep through the night. And I don't mean that she should be sleeping through the night, but I just mean that she does not sleep at night. She doesn't. I don't know what it is. It's very different with her than it was with Cole because obviously he wasn't the best sleeper at all. But he also was not as bad as Aubrey is at all. He was a lot better. She is up several times in the night for a very long period of time and every single night just gets longer and longer. For the first night at home, she actually slept really well. And then it kind of all went downhill from there, so please pray for me because I'm one very sleep deprived mum for sure. It's definitely not caught up on me yet, but I can feel it in the middle of the night when I wake up in the morning and throughout the day. I have to kind of keep myself occupied because if I don't, then it's just going to get worse again. So yeah, I'm just trying my hardest to be the best mum I can for these two little kiddies, but definitely is a struggle, can be a struggle, especially when you're not getting a lot of sleep. Thankfully, Cole isn't affected by Aubrey waking up in the middle of the night. It doesn't bother him. It did the first night, but apart from that, it doesn't bother him. So yeah, I'm going to stop rambling because my toddler is currently destroying my bedroom. So I'm going to leave it here. If you guys did enjoy, please smash a big thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. I'd be extremely grateful. And if you haven't already, please click the notification bell. It will notify you every single time I upload a video. And I will see you on my next video. Can you say bye-bye?
Bye.
And this is Aubrey. Is that your sister?